Hi everyone, welcome to Product Breakdown. This is our weekly chat with me, Mayank, and Shubham. Uh, we will break down a new product that excited us and also share what we have been reading this week. All right, so let's get started. Shubham, how's it going, man? How was your weekend?
It was good. Just busy with the kids, taking them out now the summer is here. So, yeah, nothing much. How's yours?
Ben, mine was good. It was the weekend before my trip to France, so it was busy but pretty exciting with the kids, and it was not bad. Cool. So
Sure.
let's talk about the product that kept us all excited last week. So, Shubham, let's get straight into it. So, what is the product, and then we can talk about the economics and also the future. Go for it, man.
Yeah, it's a pretty cool product. It's a VR headset that finally I think Apple were launched. People have been waiting to hear from Apple. You would go back and look at the news media, and they've been trying to speculate when Apple would come out with something like this. So I think it's also the timing like kind of is very interesting because if you look at Apple, they don't necessarily enter the market unless they're very sure that the market is ready, and they're very good with doing that. So let's just break it down into three major kind of three parts in the framework, and like just talk about all the three. And I'll tell you what I think about it, and you can probably comment on them. So
Mm-hmm.
technology wise, first, I think it's pretty impressive. I think they've made some changes on. I was reading somewhere. Most of the current VR headsets, let's assume that you have a you have to have a battery on the headset, and that causes the headset to be heavy. So they made some changes. The battery pack is actually outside. It's much lighter. You can wear it for a longer time. So they've thought through this, right? So it's pretty impressive. I think I've also seen that they have cameras on the outside of the VR, which allows you to like basically use your hand gestures in the air to control it, right? Rather than having separate controls in your hands. So they made certain changes, and I think
Which
they've
which
learned
most
from their competitors.
which most VR headsets have. The cameras outside the VR headset is a pretty common thing. The Quest also have Quest 2 and 3 also have that.
Yeah, but I think it's the part that is a little different. Again, maybe you have some more knowledge about it, but like I think the part that is a little different is that the hand gestures can literally control the things happening in the VR headset rather than having a separate controller in your hand that allows you to control things. So, slight improvements there. I do think that, they they did learn from the competitors, right? Like they are trying to figure out what works in the market, what doesn't work in the market. Now, this is technology. Economics, I think the cost is pretty high.
Yeah, let's talk a little bit more about the product itself. Uh, I think the big difference I saw was sure the battery was good. The design is definitely done in a very Apple way. It is very cool. It looks very sleek. And as you look at the video, when you look from outside, you can see the eyes of the person wearing it, which is pretty cool. But the reality is, it's not their eyes. It's actually there are cameras inside the VR headset that track the eyes, which then reflects some sort of the reflection of the eyes into the outside mirror or screen. It's not a real glass, as you can imagine, as you might have thought of. So it sort of creates your eyes, but it's not exactly looking into you through a transparent glass. So that's pretty cool. The look looks like it looks very. It feels as if the person wearing the headset is looking at you. So that's quite. They replicate the natural feeling. Uh, I think I like. I don't know how much they've learned from the market. Like nobody knows what the market is. Nobody knows what the use case is. So I think it's a cooler VR headset. One big again, I have not used it yet, so I'm looking forward to going to the Apple Store check it out. It's not there yet, at least in the Apple Store, close to us. The one big thing I see a difference is, of course, the OS. Like there will be connectivity to your photo, iPhoto, to your iCloud. That connectivity feels very well done, as with all Apple devices, very well integrated. Beyond that, I don't know what's different. Like to me, it's a very like normal VR headset. And of course, the price tag $3,500. Uh,
$100.
Crazy. It's very interesting. I can talk about that
Yeah,
why I like it, but let's go into your economics piece first. So, what about that? Let's talk about that
yeah,
part.
yeah. I just to kind of like wrap up that conversation about
Yeah.
technology. I think just quickly, I think it's very important to realize that ultimately headphones are headphones, right? Like phone is a phone, right? What makes Apple products different is the fact that they kind of go and look at like the small details and they make sure that they're
Yeah.
perfect. Like they work really nicely, right? The experience of using an iPhone, it makes you love the iPhone and the ecosystem that the iPhone taps into, and then the headphones tap into, right? So to your point, I think that deserves some points there. Economics of it, high cost, definitely. I don't think, when you have $500 competitive kind of headsets available, I don't know how much, who's going to buy it right now or who's going to jump on it, right? So there might be some fanatics who will just line up outside the Apple store when it, comes next year. But for most of us, $3,000 is a lot. So the competition, as I said, like it's pretty high. There are multiple different headsets available for much cheaper than this, under 1K. And then I think the question for me this becomes is, and even they were not really, like, if you see the demos, they were not really demoing it for personal use as much as there was like some sort of like, I saw their ads and they were mostly enterprise driven. They were like, yeah, I mean, somebody's working on it, right? Like, and so I wonder what they say, like where are they trying to place it, because it's
Mm-hmm.
like they nothing is done just by chance, right? They've thought through it, right? The ads and what they show in the ad, like I'm pretty sure they've been thinking about it for 6 8 months. And so why is it like that somebody's working on it and not watching a movie, right? Like,
Mm.
and so I just
Interesting.
wonder if they're trying to place it into a certain like part of the market and make it an enterprise solution.
Interesting. Look, I have a pretty contrarian perspective on the price. I think this is Apple's strategy, which was, I think Apple is replicating what Tesla's the first car, the Tesla's Roadster strategy was, where you launch a product super expensive in a market which you don't know how will react to it. You want to learn from a very small group of people who buy into the vision, who are good, who are ready to give you feedback, and then you go from a very expensive small group product, highly understanding the market, and then go lower down the pyramid towards making it mainstream, which is what Tesla is doing today. So I think the price point is not supposed to be thought as for mainstream. It is very well targeted to a niche of people who would want to use it, and that's how they will find the use case. I don't think they have found their use case. I don't think they know what will
I
happen next. Is the journey that'll be interesting. So I think the 3,500 price tag, people are saying it's too high, not for mainstream. It's by design. It's not a bug. It's by design. That's my
it's a
POV
feature.
on the
I,
price. Yeah.
I'll tell you one thing. Just one correction on that. I think Tesla is not doing it. They're trying to do it, which is, it's a very hard problem to do, right? Like going
No,
from
they
an
did.
80,000 or $100,000 car to like $20,000 car. It's hard. I mean, like, like if you have a Toyota, like if you consider a Toyota or a Honda a normal, like, regular car, it's under 20 or 22, 23. You still can't buy like a Tesla at that.
Oh, no, no, no. I'm saying, like, look at the strategy was Roadster, which was over $100,000, and then came Model
Sure.
X, Model S, and now we have Model Y. So
Yeah.
it is going down, the pyramid. Will it come down to
Yeah. Yeah, yeah.
Corolla level, which is like Model something? We'll see. But my point, the strategy is very
We'll
clear,
see.
like
Yeah.
a hobby group,
Yeah.
very high price point, and then you keep going down the
That's a
pyramid.
fair point.
Yeah. And Apple may not come to the mainstream because iPhone is not mainstream. Apple never operates at mainstream. Mainstream being like, let's say, for everybody. So anyway, I think the strategy to me makes a lot of sense from price point. It's not people are criticizing the price. I think it's by design.
That,
That's my point here.
that's a very
Yeah.
good point, actually. And honestly, I think, just moving on from here, but like before that, honestly, I heard somebody say this. It's like, people come back and like criticize the price point, but if you can think that this is high, I'm sure Apple thought about it. I'm sure they
Of
thought
course,
about it for a
exactly my
year.
point.
Like they don't just put a
Agree
price on
with you.
anything just because
Yeah,
like
yeah,
they
yeah.
thought,
I
like,
completely agree.
they
So
they
that's
know what they're
exactly
doing,
so.
right? So I
Yeah,
trust
yeah,
them, right?
yeah.
So
So
yeah.
I'm unpacking
No,
the
I don't.
why
I'm not
there.
like.
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
Yeah, yeah.
yeah.
And I'm
Um,
not like in my head. I'm not criticizing them where they are, but I think it's just more of like why there, and maybe your answer is probably like why it makes sense to be there. Anyways,
yeah.
moving on. I think the
No, let me
future.
ask you another question. Let me ask you another question
Sure.
before we jump in. Um, so you make a point, which is okay. There are a few VR headsets in the market, and they are almost similar. Like and Apple has an edge because the way they do it so smoothly. They do it. The things look good. They integrate so well. Let me ask a different question now. So, what will it make it to succeed? And that goes really into the next point of the future. So, if they have to succeed, what is that one thing or two things that has to happen for them to succeed?
So I would say in my head, right? So what's working for them? They have an ecosystem. They have, the gadgets that just work together at the same time, right? So this is already going for them. And I think what will make this succeed is apps. You need more apps. You need more devs to go in and build crazy apps. And I'm pretty sure that they have an operating system. To your point, when you're talking about like the operating system that they have inside it, I think they've thought through it in a way that it will enable developers to basically come out with apps which would integrate with, let's say, the Notions of the world, the Grammarly's of the world, right? Like whatever, the Outlooks of the world, right? And so they'll just be able to just see all these apps as innately in your headset environment. And the second thing, at some point, whenever they decide to do it, they will have to come down on the cost, price point, depending on the strategy. If they want this to be a consumer market, I think they'll have to lower it a little bit. But if they, like, maybe it's the strategy is only enterprise, yeah, sure, 3K works. So
Yeah. I think on that part, I agree with you. The two things that I would think would really define the success would be how quickly can they mobilize their existing developer ecosystem. If you look at Meta, the other big competitor, they had to create that ecosystem from scratch. They had to get the developers, create the partnership with them, work with them closely to create first the ecosystem, and then of course build on top of that. Uh, Apple has millions of developers. They are very, very used to bootstrapping these new devices through the existing ecosystems. That is, you have seen this in Watch OS, and before that, with iPad and so on and so forth. So Apple TV and so on and so forth. So I think that's number one, which is how quickly they can mobilize the developer ecosystem. The second
dude,
piece,
I'll tell you
which
the,
yeah,
so,
go ahead, yeah,
no, I was just saying, to your point, I think there were people on LinkedIn when
yeah,
the post came out, they were actually posting that, like some folks that I know
yeah.
of who were heading product at different companies, they were like, oh, our app will be available. So to your point, like, it is so far ahead where they basically already know that when the headset comes out, that app will be there because they've been working on
Interesting.
it, because Apple told them that this is coming, right? Like, so,
It's
like,
coming. Yeah,
like that
yeah.
ecosystem that you're talking about, right? So
Yeah, they're
Apple does
already
a very good
mobilizing
job
it.
of
To your
that.
point, yeah, they're already mobile. I
Yep.
love it, love it. Uh, Look, but there's also reality. I've been on the other side where Apple is launching something new and they tease it out, and then every company wants to build an app for that ecosystem because you want to be the first mover, and then it dies down. Like it has happened multiple times. But I see your point. There is a playbook to mobilize the developer ecosystem. Cool. My second point is it's this is hard. The use case is nobody knows the use case right now beyond just recreational gaming, beyond some very niche use cases. I mean, like, let's say uh, designing something, modeling a house, or 3D modeling, looking at the different angles of the same structure in a 3D environment. I do see enterprise use cases emerging from it, but I don't know what the hero use case is. The one use case that will take it to mainstream, or maybe to your point, it's not mainstream. So I think it is the velocity of finding that is a time to find that use case will define success, because after a point you don't have enough patience. The market doesn't have enough patience to give you third, fourth, fifth shot. So those two things, developer ecosystem, and I think the time to finding the use case.
I agree. And I think I'll tell you what my use case is. And this is
Yeah,
just
yeah,
personal, right?
yeah,
And I'll buy it the day that happens. The day I can replace my desk with that headset, I'll buy it,
yeah,
right? Because
yeah,
these wires, this monitor, these, like, 15
yeah,
devices that I have to charge always all the time. If I can just replace all of this with that
yeah,
headset and I can wear it and sit wherever I want, bingo. I'll
yeah.
shell out 2-3K. So
You know what my use case is? So first of all, so my use case is a little bit different. I'm against wearable or a VR headset. I will never wear I mean, at least I'm just making statement now. I will not wear a headset. It come to me naturally. But I do see the value of a larger uh, panoramic experience in my living room. And to be honest, I have a huge laser projector here, useless, not interactive, not powerful enough. And they're also expensive, $4,000-$5,000. So I like it. Not the TV, I have a projector there, okay, as well.
Yeah.
Now I do see a world where this VR headset would be a niche, and the niche will be served through all different platforms and products and companies. And then you'll find a product between the projector, the LCD projector, the laser projector, and a VR headset, which would be an interactive version of a display in your living room. That's how I imagine how this sort of VR headset world will evolve. The technology will remain, the hand gestures, the eye gestures, they will remain. But maybe the medium might change a little bit to blend into what is very comfortable to human eyes and body.
Fair. Well, we both will be here to watch and hopefully review.
Awesome.
So, moving on, do you want to talk about what are we reading this week?
Absolutely. Look, we have been talking about products, so I'll give one book that I've been reading recently for product managers, for engineering managers, for leaders, for VPs, CPOs, CXOs, whoever you are. I'm reading this book called Working Backwards by Bill Carr and Colin Breyer. It's the story of Amazon. Of course, you work for Amazon, Shubham, so you know this, like you live by this process. But the whole concept is about putting like a flag on the ground, putting a end state of a vision of a product, writing a press release, and working backwards from there. And then working backwards is the story of how you create rigor in working backwards in your execution, in your thinking, in your team management, in your leadership management upwards. They talk about their stories about how they have launched Amazon Prime Video, the Amazon Fulfilled by Amazon product, how it started, the one-click checkout that Amazon created. So the journey of those mind-blowing products that Amazon created with the principle of working backwards and Amazon's leadership principle. So I really like the real case studies they talk about. They talk about real meetings with Jeff Bezos and some of the leaders there. They also have Amazon Web Service and its journey, also Amazon Prime and its journey. So it's a great read, especially for mid-manager and upper leaderships. Also startups. A lot can be learned. I think startups are not doing a good job at all right now in terms of rigor in the execution. It's a great read. So I think it's a light read too. So have a try. So give it a try. Real stories of products that Amazon built with the principles of working backwards and the leadership principles. Hope you like it. Have you read the book, Shubham? Have you heard of the book or have you read the book? Yeah,
I have heard of the book. I've not gotten a chance to read it, but I actually live it, as you say. So
I know.
So it's one of those
yeah,
things.
yeah.
I mean, and I can tell you from my experience, it's just the word that you use is what I would use to define it. It's the rigor. It's the rigor
yeah.
of and I think when in my head, I'll just to end this. Engineering is always rigorous, right? We talk to be rigorous about our processes, about making sure everything is just the way it is. Business, not so much. And this working backwards makes business rigorous.
Yeah, I love that. Yeah, because there's so much subjectivity. It removes subjectivity and brings that rigor into it. Awesome. Yes. I hope you all like the book. Cool. So please like, share, subscribe. Give us your feedback of what you want to hear next. We'll come back next week again with a new product and a new weekly read. Until then, take care. Bye.
Bye.